don't know, Marcus inside this. Yeah, like children, yeah. Reaching out to like children. Yeah. But begging like children live right. Don't fuss, don't fight. Wanna know better unite. Yeah. Begging like children live right. Don't fuss, don't fight. No. Wanna know better unite. Yeah. That one you feel the youth, them inna the ghetto, inna the slum. We nah no money for shipment come wrong. So who bring the coke and who bring the gun? The youth them life come and that get shut down. And mama who like and a ball for her son. Look on her face, see how tears are run down. So tell me like you wanna feel no way. Rise like the morning sun. Well, then I get them like children live right. Don't fuss, don't fight. On a better unite. Yeah. Now, begging like children live right. Don't fuss, don't fight. No. On a better unite. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My distance. Come on.
Hello to all my friends all across the world, wherever you might be today. Anton, good evening.
What's up? What's going on, Romel?
Yeah. I'm good. Good evening, everyone, wherever you're viewing from. Good day to you guys. Today it is the 28th, and you guys are live with Rom Ton. I am here in the UK. Anton is across there in Chicago, and we're just gonna get into it today. We're just gonna flow. So Anton, how are you? Say hello to the people.
Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for watching. For those of you who are watching, hopefully we can get some of the folks from the African American Travelers group. I sent a link for them, so hopefully we can get some people in from there. And
Yeah.
it's good to be back. So hopefully, we can keep it going.
Yeah, definitely. We need to get some people in here. I just need to share this live a couple of places. We was actually supposed to do this last night, but bro, as you know, last night I had my son, and yeah, he was full of energy last night. He didn't want to leave me, and it was really nice, to see that my son, he's growing that fondness and that attachment to me. That he cries when it's time to leave me. So that's really good. Um, yeah, good evening to Cook and Inspire there, Chef Garnet out in London. I've been checking out Cook and Inspire's YouTube page, Anton, and when I tell you this guy, he makes some amazing dishes. Like from the time you look at his thumbnails, from the time you look at the intro to his videos, like it just makes your mouth water. It make your belly start to feel for the food one time, and like his food, it just looks so good. So Cook and Inspire, good afternoon to you. You have been inspiring me to go on and do some cooking videos. So I am going to look into that. I honestly can't make some of the things that you make, but I'm gonna make what I can make and get into some cooking there. So guys, just bear with us just a moment. We just sharing the live. If you guys watching right now, just do us a favor and just hit that like button. Just go ahead and like it, whether you are watching on YouTube. We also streaming simultaneously on Facebook as well. And I am just sharing this link right now. So just bear with me just a moment as we try to get some people in here right now. So Anton, what we want to talk about today?
So a couple things, but I believe the first is probably addressing the elephant in the room, at least for us Americans, for us either Americans or U.S. citizens that are watching.
Yeah.
I'd like to kind of address the fact that it's very possible, almost inevitable, that for anyone who's an American or an American citizen, we're going to have some serious issues traveling this year.
Yeah,
And I have quite a few sources to back that up for anybody that's looking for proof.
definitely. All across the world, everyone, we all gonna experience some serious travel restrictions, and it's gonna be different. But a lot of us, we want to get out there and we want to travel. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some of those people into the chat there in just 1 second. Um, just bear with me. Just bear with me. I'm just sharing this.
Absolutely. It's quite a few topics I think are really worth addressing. I know that given the climate of the world right now, with not just COVID, but some of the things that are going on in the U.S., especially regarding Black people, white people, and then our police force.
Yeah,
It's worth mentioning today because even though we have so much media attention, it happens basically everywhere. Anywhere you have a group of minorities and a police force that's filled with mostly majority, and if there's racial tensions or any kind of bias against the two groups, then you're going to have issues. So I think it's especially important to mention it, given the circumstances this year.
and Anton, I'm happy you mentioned that because I want to ask, like, it's been like a month and maybe a little bit more now since the murder of George Floyd. And we know that there were 2 weeks of protests, and there has been a lot of changes and a lot of things set to change. But what is the climate now? Has the climate generally calmed down? Is things going back to normal, or is the protest still going?
Just been sharing a lot. Thank you, Cook and Inspire. I appreciate that. So in terms of climate right now, at least in my city, things are a little bit more calm in the downtown area. So for those who are in downtown Chicago, they pretty much have cleaned up the streets, or either cleaned, they've gotten people to settle down, they've been trying to fix businesses, they've been trying to get insurance money for businesses. In terms of the general public who were protesting, some of them kind of dispersed, but there still is some stuff going on in certain neighborhoods, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement. For those who have kind of stopped, marching in the streets, they've still been doing some things in terms of the internet, so posting online,
Yeah,
um, from signs in their front yard to whatever else. And then nationally, I mean, they're still making some pretty big noise up on the East Coast and then over on the West. And I mean, we're kind of like in a calm before the storm type period, because as we get closer to elections, things are going to pick up again.
yeah,
And there's a trend, especially here in the US, where they pick a time where they start to release not mass amounts, but a fair amount of police brutality videos. And if you look at the details, most of them have already happened from a year to years ago.
yeah,
But they wait until these specific moments to release them. I mean, it's all strategic.
yeah.
So the public has just been trying to handle that. Basically, I mean, it's disheartening hearing about Elijah McClain. I don't know if you've heard, but
Yeah.
his case that happened last year.
Yeah, but
You
the
know,
files we now hearing about this now.
yeah, but and it's all on purpose. There's a reason why it's
Yeah,
it's out now. So it's we're in a very weird spot. For Black folks here. Um, it's you have the actual storm, and then you have the quiet period after the storm before it either picks up again, or you get sunshine. And I feel like that's the best way to explain where we are right now.
Yeah.
There are governors and mayors who are trying to make changes, but I believe it's all breadcrumbs. Because in my humble opinion, if you really want to make change for not just us, but everybody who's considered a minority in this country, then you need to make policy change. And that's what I feel the US government is dancing around. They also need to change how police in this country operate and
Mhm.
sort of where they're administering funds to. So
Yeah.
people are saying defund the police, but in which ways exactly? Because we need police. I mean, we need an organization to help stop crime,
Yeah.
but we don't need them to defund training or services to help with the psychological trauma of being a cop.
Yeah.
But we do need to do something about funding their weapons, their artillery, and those things. So I think we just need to organize ourselves better in that regard.
And I just want to let the people and them who watching know that if you guys want to join the conversation, if you want to come in via audio or video chat, you just need to click this link, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook. Just go in the comments, you'll find this link, click this link, and it will bring you into the studio. And you guys could join in and give your comments there on the topics this afternoon. But Anton, I know you really wanted to discuss or to address a particular industry or a particular group of people, per se, like the travelers, people who from the United States, from diasporans from the United States, looking to travel going forward in 2020. So the floor is yours, my brother. Talk to us.
Absolutely. So, in regards to travel, I mean, it's really no secret. In terms of the EU, they're pretty much 99.9% sure they're going to bar us from traveling. Now, some of you, and by you, I mean some of you African Americans like myself who need to travel for leisure, business, whatever, this is kind of a big hurdle for many of us because if you run a business in Europe or you have loved ones in Europe, like my case, which would be I have someone there that I need to see, and then also the business aspect. That's I mean like that's the absolute last thing you want to hear. So I'm gonna post a link to some of the articles for people who don't know, so they can read. But the EU is pretty certain they're going to ban us. Places like Turkey, which is a hub for international travel, as many flights kind of stop in Turkey before they either go to Africa or to other places in Europe. They're not like 90% sure they're going to ban us as well. And quite a few places in the Caribbean are open, but for the most part, uh, they're not really looking to accept Americans. South America is completely closed to everyone. So for anybody that's wanting to go there, I mean, it's basically not a possibility. And I know you have places like the UK, which are trying to create travel bubbles, as they call them, between other countries in the EU. And
Yeah.
so I think eventually what's going to happen is they're going to not allow us to go anywhere. And for those of us who are trying to repatriate back to Africa, build businesses, connect with the people, and build kinship with that part of our heritage, it's almost like a way of keeping you away from that. So,
Yeah.
for my fellow African American brothers and sisters, I feel the only thing we can do is come together, research where we can go, and use that as a way to get back. I did hear that Tanzania is open. They've been open for a while. There is some news that Kenya may open in the near
Yeah.
future, but it's not certain who they're going to let in. And while Tanzania may be open, for those who aren't able to get an e-visa online, it might make it difficult to get one when you land there because they may look at the fact that, oh, he's coming from America and they have over 2 million cases. So I'd just like for us to come together, share information about what's going on, and figure out how we can help each other move across the globe. So, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Even no, I'm just watching the situation because even here in Britain, the UK, countries in Europe, they're being skeptical towards us here in the UK. The UK is in fact looking to start to allow travel to certain countries throughout Europe, countries where you will not need to quarantine going to or coming from those countries. But still, some of those countries, they're saying that that the government in the government of those countries, they would not be willing to readily willing to accept UK citizens as they are looking at the COVID level here in the UK as well. And they have to consider that. So it's a very tricky situation, and I'm just watching it at the moment. I'm just watching it to see how it is going. So we have this link here about the reopening of the borders here on the 1st of July there. That is with regards to the European countries there. And we also have this other article here that we bring it up in the comment section there from the New York Times. And we also have this article from the local, I think this is the Denmark paper here, where they were discussing the topic as to when will the European countries, when will the borders reopen in Europe. So it is a very it's a very sticky situation at the moment with this whole COVID-19 situation happening here. I'm just looking to see because obviously, like I had some plans. My most of what I do, it heavily involves a lot of travel and a lot of domestic and international travel as well. So I'm just looking and waiting to see. I don't really have a comment on it at the moment, but I'm just looking and waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. So the one that's real interesting is the first, and that's the actual draft list. And I remember reading a few days ago that they created two draft lists about safe countries that they were going to allow into the EU, and at least for my country, we weren't on either one of them. And one of the lists was a more broader list of who they were going to let in. But for those who take a look and kind of read into it, none of the African, almost not none, but almost none of the African countries are on that list. And compared to the rest of the world, they still have by far the least amount of cases recorded and deaths. So
Definitely.
it is, you know, I hate to play that card, but given the weight of the world right now, I mean, it's not an accident. So I think for us, as I said, to be able to come together and plot and plan how we can move around and do the things that we need to do is necessary. Uh, the uh, the second two, the second link, excuse me, is just the fact that they are planning to ban us. It just goes into more detail of why the U.S. specifically, and then this
So
last article.
let's just go through this list here.
Yeah,
Uh, so citizens of 54 world countries will benefit from the reopening of the European Union external borders, which is expected to happen in the beginning of July.
yeah.
According to your news, EU officials failed to agree on a common list of countries that would definitely be banned from entering the bloc upon the border reopening, but managed to create a list of countries that will better epidemiologically situation, the citizens of which will be able to enter Europe by the end of next week. The same sources have also confirmed that Brazil Qatar, the US and Russia will only be able to enter Europe at a later date when the situation in those countries improve. So let's have a look at the countries here now. So Albania, okay, Angola. So we see we have China being able to come back in. Um,
They say that that is only on the basis of reciprocity,
yeah,
but we already know that China's going to be able to enter.
can see for some reason my Trinidad and Tobago is not on the list. Okay.
The second link there, they I believe are just explaining why we can't get in, and then the last link is the fact that because certain countries didn't want to agree to locking certain countries out, like the U.S., for example.
Wait, let's just get the second one up here.
Sure.
Just 1 second. Okay, so EU plans to ban most US travelers when the bloc reopens. Europe will allow outsiders to begin entering again July 1st, but US and Russia will be among nations considered too risky because they have not controlled the COVID outbreak. So I'm just brushing through the article here, guys. Brussels, the European Union, is ready to ban most extensive travel from the UK, Russia, and a dozen other countries, considering them too risky. The exclusion of the United States is important just to sense of representing a striking the Trump administration government. Uh, so they're saying that it's a very it's a stinging rebuke to how President Trump's administration had managed the outbreak. They listed some safe countries here, but definitely, Anton, it totally agrees with or it states the fact of what you were saying there. So, what was the thing that stood out to you the most about this article?
The well, they're saying that. I mean, from the title, they say most American travelers. If you look back to the very top,
Yeah.
but thank you, Mary. But they mean all. It's going to be everybody coming from the U.S. because I spoke with a lady that runs or is in charge of the French consulate here in Chicago, and I said, well, is there a way that we can get into Europe if we can prove formally that we are virus free? And she very rudely explained to me that it doesn't really matter, and she said that they are untrusting of our testing. So even if we do come with results that show we are negative, and we tell immigration or borders that we're free and we're healthy and we're good to go, it doesn't matter. That's what the lady at the consulate told me. So I don't know if what she said is 100% correct, but judging from this article, I mean, it seems like it's going to be the case. They say that we're too risky of a country, and they explain that the European scientists have been basically correct in all of their theories about certain countries as results due to COVID, and that they're trying to make a scientific based decision. And science says, we're too risky. We have way too many cases. So I mean, it's plain and simple. We're just about done from Europe for a while.
Yeah, that seems to be the case indeed. And finally, let's go into this third article here, where they were saying that the EU delays the decision on when the European bloc will be reopened. Um, just getting that up there now.
Yeah, so do I, Mary. So do I.
Definitely, definitely, we all do.
Um, I would just like to add that this article is probably one of the most recent ones I can find.
Yeah.
And
Well, when
there,
we look at the date here, it was dated today,
yeah,
um, just a few hours ago, about 3 hours ago or so.
the one of the reasons why they've pushed back the decision to open the borders is because certain countries don't completely want to lock the U.S. or the UK, Brazil, Russia out of the equation because, I mean, let's face it, most of us Americans make up for at least 20% of all tourism in some
Yeah.
of these places, like Greece, for example. So it may be something that can save us, but in terms of most of the EU, we probably won't be able to get in.
And it's amazing that these countries who they all actually blame China for this out for this virus, you know. And it's amazing to see that China is one of the countries that, even though China did have one of the fastest recovery rates, one of the fastest turnaround rates, but it's interesting to see that the U.S., which has been the world superpower, which has been like the most important passport, the most powerful passport that a person could hold in recent history. It's very interesting to see that that they are denying the U.S. citizens above Chinese and so forth. So just have a question from Marie. Marie, just remind us where you are commenting from again. Hello, good afternoon to you. Um, your question there, is there a lot of racism in the UK as well? You know, that's a very interesting question there. That is something that actually me and Anton, we were discussing a bit actually about a day or two ago. So So let's discuss that question that she just asked me there. Is there a lot of racism in the UK? And she is from Florida. Yes, definitely. I have a couple of friends out there in Florida. Hello to all of you guys there. Hello to all of our friends, wherever you guys might be. So the question, is there a lot of racism in the UK? I would say my answer is yes, there is a lot of racism in the UK. However, racism in the UK, it is much different from racism in the United States. Racism in the UK, it is more systematic racism where you it is institutionalized racism. It is not to your face individual racism. You don't experience like individual racism on that high level. You don't experience the police brutality and police injustice towards persons of color. I was reminding Anton, I think it was earlier today or yesterday or something, that the police in the UK, they don't actually carry firearms. They don't walk around with guns. So I think a lot of the expressed racism in America is has a lot to do with the firearms that people own and possess in America, and we don't have that in the UK. So maybe that is why it is a bit undercover, as I would say. But yeah, there is a lot of racism here in the UK. Fortunately, like in all of my travels all across the world, because I've spent a little time in Florida there, up in Fort Pierce and Point St. Lucie. I've spent a lot of time in Chicago, where Anton is at, both on the south side and the north side. I've spent time in California. I've spent time in New York. I've spent time all across Europe. I've spent time in the Caribbean. And I've been blessed not to experience a lot of personal racism, or I've been blessed rather to have friends of every creed and every race. So I have not personally experienced it, and especially here in the UK, I've not personally experienced it, but it is alive. It is alive here. But like I'm saying, like I'm happy that I've been blessed with some friends that I've not. It's not been my experience, and you are welcome. Yes, Anton. Sorry, where were we?
No, I just you were showing the last article about the EU pushing the decision back in terms of when they're going to open the borders, and I
Yeah.
was just saying that for the reason being that they some countries don't want to lock us out because they need our money, plain and simple. So aside from that, yeah, aside from that, that's where we were.
I don't want to join any list right now.
Oh yeah, no, no.
Yeah.
I'll find another article for free. So we won't.
You are welcome.
I'll find-
So now, I think it is important, especially in this day and at this time, for us, the descendants of Africa, um, to travel and to travel back to the continent. So it is very important for us to come together and discuss ways and means in which we can travel. So I completely agree with you, Anton. We even need to form like our own travel group, our own travel agency, where we come together as a people and as a group, and we travel together. So we're able to charter even the entire plane, and we're able to move about as freely as we like. We're able to be in a comfortable environment as we travel locally, regionally, and internationally. So I completely agree with you that we need to come together and spread the information amongst ourselves, inform, educate, and edify each other with regards to what is happening in the world with regards to traveling. So we have another question from Marie there. If you guys have the opportunity to move to a different country, where would that be? Anton, I'll let you go first at that one. I'll let you have first go at that.
Oh man, that's so excellent question, Marie. That's probably the hardest question that I can answer because I want to go everywhere, and I'm not someone that can be content with living in one place. I think that I'm a true nomad at heart, but I can tell you that despite me moving around, I would be happy with just moving around through Africa and the Caribbean. I'm not really concerned about too many other places. The only one I'd want to see outside of Africa would be New Zealand, and I really respect the New Zealanders. I thought it was a great tribute. If you saw some of their tribes were doing their signature honorings to show respect to George Floyd and everything going on here. And aside from that, I I just like the country to be honest. So besides that, um, I guess well this way, put it to you like this: the first country that I'd go and stay in for sure is definitely Senegal, and then if I decide to go anywhere else, uh, then I'll make that decision. So Romel.
Okay, so for me, if I have the opportunity to move to a different country, where would that be? You see that as well. It is so difficult for me as well because I'll tell you something. Like I believe in being born with a destiny, being born for a purpose, and I, if I was to pick a country and a place, I would probably pick Kenya. I would pick Nairobi in Kenya. simply because my wife is from there, her parents are from there. She belongs to the Maasai and the Maasai tribe there and the Kikuyu tribe there. So I would feel really much at home. I think when you look at the geographical location of Kenya as well, you have it's pretty much like America actually, where you have the east and the west, where you could have the different climates where you don't necessarily have to live in the cold or you don't necessarily have to live in the hot weather. So I would pick Nairobi. But the thing about it is that my hope and my vision is that one day in my lifetime I would see Africa as one country, and I would see freedom of movement throughout Africa and freedom of movement of persons and goods and services, freedom and rights to abode, just like it is in the United States, how I could move from Ohio and go to California and go to New York. And I would like to see Africa like that. So then I could say that Africa is my country. But outside of Africa, because it sounds like real cliche. Everybody say like, yeah, yeah, because we're black, we say Africa. So I love Anton's choice of New Zealand as well. Outside of Africa, I've been to the United States. I love California. California would be like my second home. If I could move back to somewhere, I would go back and live in California because I spent a lot of time there, and I really really like. I think I like the weather most in California, but I like the vibes. I like the atmosphere. I like everything about California. So that is where I would live if I had the opportunity to live in a different country.
I would like to kind of get into Africa, the topic especially. I
Yeah,
think that Woody Meyer has touched on this a few times, and then in regards to what you said about seeing all of Africa, there are some people who really are trying to push for a better African Union.
definitely.
There is one, but I mean not to the degree of the EU, and to be
Yeah.
able to travel and work in any African country inside of Africa without
Yeah.
having to get visas and everything. I think it's possible, but argue with me if I'm wrong. But I think that most African people and descendants of Africans do carry this innate clan mindset. I think that by nature we are tribalistic, but I think it's only out of passion and perseverance for the people who come from our same area or whatever. So
And Anton, a lot of people they don't like it when I say it, but I've been saying and I will always continue to say all of Africa needs to completely outlaw tribalism. We need to make that thing illegal. We need to done away with tribalism. That's why I love you see the president of Rwanda, you see Paul Kagame. You see that guy, I love that guy so much. He outlawed tribalism. The things that guy has done with Rwanda in 19 years. Remember, it was just 19 years ago the war ended with the Hutus and the Tutsis. Remember, there was complete massacre in Rwanda there, and how this guy and his style of African leadership has transformed Rwanda into they call it the Singapore of Africa. It has been rated as the easiest place to do business on the continent, and it has so many other accolades. So I completely agree with that guy and with his vision and with the things that he does with outlawing tribalism in Rwanda. And I wish that they could extend that throughout all of Africa. Because when you look at Europe, I always say that the only tribes, Europe have a lot of tribes, but the only tribes it have in Europe is football. That is all. It's only the Liverpool tribe versus the Tottenham tribe versus the Chelsea tribe. That is all. That is all. That is all. It's only football is the only thing it have tribes in. Everything else, it's a nationalistic, is a regionalistic mind frame that Europeans have. America, even though everyone still have their identity in their state, America, it's all one country. It is all one nation, one identity of Americans. So they need to Africa needs to follow the same, and they need to do away with tribalism, because tribalism is really it choking the development of Africa, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, it's not the concept of a tribe is not necessarily a bad thing,
No,
but it's when that tribalism turns to imperialism. I mean, imperialism really shaped the this entire continent. Because Europe had tribes, they just weren't necessarily known as the same thing. Europe had imperialists.
yeah,
Uh, One of the biggest, most famous that most people today here know is obviously the Roman Empire. Roman Empire is an empire. Empire is not a good thing for those who are not a part of that empire. But for those who are, it's a beautiful thing. And it's the same situation in Africa. You had empires, huge empires, who either were from this specific tribe or that specific tribe. And as Europe came in and divided and disrupted everything, they put all of those tribes together who were really trying to fight against each other so they could divide the continent. So now you have groups of people sharing the same country or city that weren't supposed to be there in the first place. And they still haven't adopted this mindset of we need to work together because no matter who you are or where you're from, there's always a group of people or an individual that thinks they're better than the other for whichever reason. So you
yeah,
have, just to give an example, maybe in Nigeria you have Igbo versus Hausa versus Yoruba. You might have one tribe that thinks they're better than the other, or one tribe that's in a better political situation that's only trying to improve the situation for their tribe or specific group of people, and they don't really care much about anybody else. I mean, that's mostly why the wars break out over on the continent, anyways. Politics for that reason. So if we could get them to understand we have to come together, and if we come together, you can still be together and still separate. Like when the time comes to be together, we all get together, but after that, we can go on our own and respectfully live in wherever it is we want to and celebrate our specific tribes, culture, or customs. And as long as you're not disrespecting your neighbor who maybe does something a bit differently, that's all.
yeah. I'm with you. I totally agree with you on that, because, like you see, your tribe is your identity, it's your lineage, it's where you come from, and it's something for you to be proud of. It's something for you to hold on to. It's your culture. It's your inheritance. However, you must still think of at a nationalistic level. You must still think the laws that you adhere to. They must be the nationalistic laws. The philosophy that you subscribe to, the system of governance that you adhere to, it cannot be a tribalistic system that you adhere to. You must keep respect for your tribalistic system, but over that there must be the law of the land, the national law, that we all adhere to, and we all could come in agreement under, no matter what our tribalistic laws might be. And the laws of the land, they will favor you loving your brother. They will favor you supporting your brother. They would not favor any ill treatment or anything. We know what the laws of the land are. So definitely, I completely agree with you 100%, Anton, of that. We need to look in this direction going forward.
So with that being said, I have my ideas on what we can do in order to create a borderless Africa. But the problem, at least personally, has been getting in touch with people that share the same vision, like a Wode, like a Dynastamir. You know, I've reached out to these people and I've gotten nothing back so far. what's your experience been?
My experience has been, I've just been doing my own thing. I've just been doing my own thing. There's only one person that I'm trying to reach out to at the moment. I've been fortunate to get a hold of people like Odemaya, but I've been trying to reach out actually to Dr. Arikana. Dr. Arikana is the person that I am trying to reach out to, who is the former ambassador of the African Union. And so far, all of my efforts to reach out to Dr. Arikana has proven futile. However, I'm not moved because I know she is a very important, powerful figure in across the diaspora, and she is doing some magnificent things. But you know what? Like what my focus is like just do what I can do, and time and destiny will line everything up. Just do what I can do, accept whatever opportunity comes my way, and time and destiny will work it out. And that's how I think about it. So sometimes you get to connect with people, sometimes you don't. I know you watch your avid viewer of my the Ravello show. You see sometimes I have some guests they don't show up because of whatever reason or the other, and I just have to go with that. Sometimes I can't look at that and say, well, I'm gonna allow it to deter me, because first of all, I know the caliber of people that I'm trying to get in contact with, and I know that that there are a lot of people that is also trying to get in contact with them. So when I do get the time, I'm grateful. But when I don't get the time with them, then I just say, oh well, I understand, because maybe one day will come where I would have 400,000 followers on YouTube, and I might not have the time to meet with everyone who is trying to reach out to me. So yeah, I've had some experiences where I've not been able to get in contact with the people I've been trying to reach, but it don't phase me. It don't phase me. Hello to Let's just say hello to a couple of people on the stream here. So we have White Shadow Films saying blessings from Jamaica. Hello to you there. I see Marie, she has swapped over to YouTube. Thank you very much for swapping over to YouTube there, Marie. Guys, if you're watching this stream on Facebook, just do me a favor. If you like how the conversation is going, give me that support and go across to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've not done so already. But if you've already done so, just make sure and click like on this video, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. And also, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and click that subscription button on the YouTube channel. Yeah, so
I tried to see if I could get some people from African American travelers. For those who are watching who'd like to join the group, it says African American, but ultimately, it can be anyone. So
yeah.
here is a link.
Oh, and if you guys want to call in and tell us a little bit about your channel, Marie, if you want to call in and tell us a little bit about your channel, tell us a little bit about what you do, then that is okay. I'm gonna drop the link there on YouTube. First, let me just drop this link first of all for the African American Travel Group. I'm gonna drop then after I'm gonna drop the link on YouTube.
Okay, so and then I just would like to add real quick that an admin from African American Travelers has approved my post. So hopefully we can get some more people here because I'm eager to see some people's point of view on what's going on now in terms of the travel ban for us Americans, and also there's a few other things that I want to talk to you about because I got time today. So I'm absolutely free today, and I have my notebook here where I keep all the the ammunition, I'd like to say. So
Yeah,
now, right, as you said, when an opportunity presents itself to you, you take it. If you don't, you're not phased by it, right? But my frame of thought is when someone gives you an avenue and says, "Hey, let's work together to create a borderless Africa," or what have you.
yeah,
You almost have to be alert, like because people are going to contact you. They're going to try to follow through with what you said. So my question to you is, let's say you get to that a million followers, how are you going to try to provide that kind of avenue for those who are serious and are inquiring about getting to know you and fulfilling the mission, as I like to call it? What would you do basically to ensure that those who are serious are being spoken to by you?
Well, I think like my one of my expertise is communications. Like I've held the role of communication specialist at the Black Caucus movement for some time. So what I would personally do is that I would definitely make my email address available. I would definitely check all of my emails. I would definitely, but if I get to a million, then what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to need to get the help of maybe some volunteers or maybe even pay some member of staff and get an assistant. If I'm making money, I'm gonna get a paid assistant to help me be able to connect with the people who are trying to genuinely connect with me. Because at the end of the day, if there are people trying to connect with me, then they could possibly be trying to connect with me with an opportunity to help me reach the 2 million or to reach the 10 million. So I want to genuinely find out what people are saying to me. I value people's feedback. I think one of the greatest ways to grow is via people's feedbacks and their comments and so forth. A lot of people, they can't take feedback. A lot of people, they can't take it when it's negative. But I value it. I look at it as a way to grow. If people know me in my personal life, I'm resilient. I've come from a very, very long way. So I could take a bit of feedback. So I love to hear from people. So I would definitely, if I get to a million and or 400, 500,000, and I have the opportunity, I would employ someone. Not only would I employ someone, but I would use that opportunity to build an organization where we could have a network of people, not just in my local area, but internationally across the World Wide Web, where we could all build a community where we could communicate, where we could interact with each other, where we could throw out our ideas and together, because no one man is an island, no one person vision could fix all of the problems that we all face. So I would create also a platform where we could all come together and we could all share our vision. Like I'll tell you one thing that I've been thinking about doing on my YouTube channel, and I have been doing it a little bit, but I've been thinking about doing it, and I think Marie and a couple of people, Cook and Inspire, people who watching here now, they would be able to testify to this. What I've been doing is that I've been sharing other people's stuff that they create, other people's content. And one of the things that I would also do if I was in a position where my voice were to be heard, then I would encourage people to create content, sit down and create some content for me. And then after, we could share this content on such a platform where in the UK we have a show called Gogglebox, where people sit down and they review shows and so forth. We can have a platform where we sit down and we review, we make a show out of watching the content that you created for us. And that way we could get a lot of ideas, because any content that comes to that channel, it is guaranteed to be played. And it's not just to be played for us, but it's going to be played for all of the subscribers to that channel. So therefore, not only we will hear your ideas, but everyone will hear your ideas. They'll be able to comment on it, and they will be able to if they share the same vision as you, they will be able to buy into to the idea that you are presenting on that. So those are just some of the things that I would do to make sure that the message gets to me, but not only to me, but to make sure that the message gets to everyone who needs to hear the message.
Absolutely. I think that maybe we can do that the next time, whether that be next week or so, because when we do end up finishing here, there are some things that I want to run by you for that reason, especially. So I think we probably have the same mind in terms of that. So yes, you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie. Definitely, I support all of my people to the fullest of my ability. And I want to create a show out of supporting you guys and encourage you guys to create content and post it on your channel and just send it to us. We will create an email where you send it to us and we will play your channel. We will sit down, we will watch it, we will stream your channel, we will build you up. So if you're doing some sort of business, you guys, Anton, for the people and them who watching, they don't. A lot of people they don't know about you and what you do. They don't know about your marketplace. They don't know about Umojo Brothers and so forth. So just tell us what you do for the Black business community.
Absolutely. So I try to put my money where my mouth is, and there's a lot of people these days in our communities that are talking about it, but not exactly being about it. So I worked really hard to create a marketplace where we can buy and sell small businesses that just so happen to be Black businesses. And what we're trying to do is, because you do have several Black marketplaces out there, right? Buy and sell places like a Black Bronze and like a We Buy Black. But the reality is most of those marketplaces are not generating enough income for all of the vendors for them to really make a financial impact on Black communities worldwide.
Yeah,
And I'm honestly not trying to take away from them. I'm not trying to market my marketplace over theirs, because if anything, I want to work with those companies, because they just a lot of them don't have the capacity to serve millions of Black-owned businesses and market all of their products to the general public. So we just provide another option, but we go hard in terms of marketing not just the platform, but that individual businesses that work with us. And basically, when we create paid advertisement, their products are the first thing that someone will see, but we just connect them back to our marketplace, because by them buying one of, let's say, Mary's products on our marketplace, they're supporting us and her as the individual business owner.
yeah.
So as you can see, you got the elements right there. And then if anybody has any questions about my organization, of course, I have my company website there. So you can read about, what we do and what we're trying to do at umojabro.com. The next point I wanted to make with you, Romel, is that there's still a bit of a disconnect between Black people from different places, then obviously Black people who are not seen as, pure blood. So I don't want to really make that a long discussion, but I'm curious to know your perspective on that.
I don't have that disconnect because you know what? Like I think that any other ethnicity, when they see a black person in any part of the world walking down the street, all they see is a black person. They don't see that I might be Afro Caribbean and you might be African American. They don't see that you are from continental Africa and we are diasporans. They don't see that you are Aborigines and we are African. All they see is a black person. They put all of us together in one basket, and therefore I will not be. I don't see any sort of differentiation between us. So for me, I just don't see it. All of my brothers and sisters are my brothers and sisters, and I just don't see how people could see a difference between themselves. Because, like I said, when we walk down the street, no matter what part of the world you might be from, as long as you're black, when they look at you, all they see is a black person walking down the street. All they say is that that person originated from Africa. Their ancestors, they came from Africa. They don't say that this person, they've been living on this continent for their ancestors lived here for the past 400 years. They don't say anything like that. When they see you and they see me, they see the exact same thing. So I have stopped seeing differences between my people. I just don't see it. I refuse to see it.
Right, and that's wonderful. But since you don't see the difference, right, and they don't see the difference, then why do other people see the difference? You know, when
Other people like who, like black people or like people from outside of the black race.
yeah, no, black. It seems that whenever I mean, for the most part, obviously, I think we were all pretty united in terms of, like, yeah, it doesn't matter if he's Afro Caribbean or African or whatever, but I still do see some instances where from black people, from white people, and others kind of go, you know what, he's not really so dark, so I don't consider him black. Or in my case, right, he comes from multiple heritages, so we don't consider him black. I mean, you damn sure don't consider me white, and they don't consider me black. So I mean, not personally, I don't care, but I'm saying for somebody who maybe that bothers them, how do they go around that?
You see, at the end of the day, that person needs to reprogram their minds because at the end of the day, that is a systematic racist mindset that has been implanted and passed down for the past 400 years. That is exactly what was beaten into our ancestors. The concept of white over black, the concept of white over yellow over brown over red over black. That the lighter you are, the better you are. The concept that actually started like about 1700 years ago is when I would say that that they originally brought this concept in from my research. But in order for us to go around that is that you have to do a reprogramming of your mind, and you have to study history, and you have to study and see that firstly that we are all just one people. But when you study history, you will study the greatness that is black, and the greatness it is to be black, and then you would start to take pride in your blackness. And when you are a lighter complexion of African like yourself, you would take pride in that. And when you look at a darker African like myself, then you would also take pride in him because you know that in you and in him is that thing, that originator of greatness, that originator of humanity, that originator of everything that exists. So we need to reprogram our minds because we have been falsely educated to think from our birth that something is wrong with being dark. We've been forced to think that to speak. Okay, now I want you to consider this, right? Who taught black people in America how to speak English? Who was it?
For the most part, they really taught themselves. If you go back,
Yeah, but who did they learn it from?
of course, I mean, obviously they learned it from the European
They
descent.
learned it from the slave masters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how come Black Americans speak so differently from Black British people? And the language of Black America has been frowned upon for centuries. When this is not their original language, this is the language that was taught to them. So even an inferior version of the English language was taught to Black people in the Western Hemisphere, in across the diaspora, and that is just the tip of the iceberg as to the miseducation that has been forced upon us to cause us to think this sort of way, that there is something better in the lightness of your skin. And now, Anton, I'm going to tell you something personal about me, and I'm going to tell you a little something personal about me. And I could already see people hitting unsubscribe when I say this, but like, Anton, like, one of the major problems that we face in this world is the glorification ideology of the personification of the white man. That glorification ideology of the personification of the white race, it has hampered us for 400 years. I once heard a story being told of our ancestors arriving in America and in the Caribbean, and the slave master saying to them that I will cause your children to love me and hate you. And I could very well imagine my ancestors saying that that would be impossible because of the things that you have done to me. But we see today, we the children of the slaves, we see that we are more in love with the slave masters than ourselves. And we need to go back to history, and we need to go back to see not to look at the negatives of history. Yeah? When I'm saying this, I'm not saying that we need to go back and we need to intensify our dislike for people that look like us. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we need to go back in history and we need to go back and intensify the love that we have for ourselves. We need to go back and we need to re-examine the strength, the resilience that we have of people, the tenacity to endure and to thrive no matter the circumstance and the situation. We need to go back and we need to look at the shining example of our ancestors who made it through the Middle Passage, who made it through all of the beatings, who made it through all of the emasculations, who made it through all of the rapes, who made it through all of the enslavement, who made it through the shackles. We need to go back and we need to look at their strength, and we need to love ourselves because of what they had to endure. We need to love ourselves because they made sure they had the choice, Anton. They had the choice that they could have committed suicide. And many of them did in the Middle Passage. There were many of them who jumped off of that ship. And I commend those brothers and sisters who jumped off of the ship there in the Middle Passage. I commend them because that took a lot of strength to jump off there. That said a lot. But we also have to commend the strength of the ones who stayed and caused us to be here 400 years later because of their struggles. So we need to see the strength within ourselves, and we need to look at that as a shining example. Let me just get in. Let me just have a read of the comment from Woodman, Joy of Craft. Good afternoon to you, my dear brother, across in Tobago, the beautiful island of Tobago. I wish I could be on the beach in Tobago right now, looking at the coral reefs. Okay, so I'll say that we are all different, but I think when we are able to recognize that our many differences as Black people, as the thing that makes us as a powerful force of a people. I completely agree with you there. You know, it is said that, I don't know how true it is, but someone once said that, okay, we know it is a fact that the first university in the world that ever existed, it existed in Africa. It existed in Timbuktu under the leadership of Mansa Musa, who was the richest person to ever exist in our history, who chartered the first, who pioneered the first ships into the Western world, who brought the first set of Americans, who brought the first set of Black people to America. We know that they established the first university in Timbuktu. But legend has it that Manson Musa, he looked at the unity in diversity in his people, and that is how they came up with the name university. When they were the place where they studied, it was the place where it was the unification of the diversification of the people of the land that he ruled over. And that is where we got the word university, or that is where the concept of university came from. So I completely agree with you there, that it is our many differences that make us a powerful force as a people, 100%. Guys, if you would like to comment, go ahead and drop your comments on YouTube, on Facebook. If you guys would like to call in, the link, it is there. I think I need to pin this link is what I need to do. You know, let me try to pin this link. Hello to everyone watching this stream right now. Thank you guys very much for joining us. Just gonna okay, great. Let's pin that on Facebook. Let's just bear with me 1 second, guys. Let me just pin this link on YouTube here. If you guys would like to join the studio and come in and join the chat with us, you guys are welcome.
I'd like to kind of steer the conversation a little bit, but I would also say that, yeah, I definitely agree with Woodmang Joyo of Craft. That's I think that's probably one of the greatest aspects to being either African or of African descent, is that you come from a place where, I mean, it's just diversification. Anything different that you want, you can find, whether in the Caribbean, on the continent, here in the U.S., or some other place. And because of that, and because of my dream as to unite all of us, how can I, as an American, contribute to somebody like Mr. Waith, who is trying to unify young Trinidadians and get them to understand the importance of their vote and get things changed in a place like Trinidad? Then when that time comes, myself as an American can be able to do something to help. And then later on down the line, if something similar happens in another part of the Caribbean or in Africa or in some sovereign nation in Europe, how do we come together and, despite us being from a different country or being different in a way, help contribute to that cause?
I have one friend on Facebook, and I want to see if he's online because he was commenting on something there. Just bear with me just 1 second, because Anton, like, I think, like, if you look at the philosophy of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, for example, if you look at the philosophy of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, it gives the outlay of an organization for Black people all across the world. And I think that is what we need. We need one united Black organization that holds membership for all Black people all across the world, where Black people will come together and unite and sign up and say that, okay, this organization speaks on my behalf. And if we could get that, I think in this day and age, we have the closest thing we have to that, it is right in your city. Not sure is a topic for tonight, but I think in your city we have the probably the most influential Black leader in the Western Hemisphere, or possibly the entire world of the day. Um, of course, that is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Um, Now, I love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as a Black leader. I see him as the most influential Black leader of the day. However, I think, in my personal opinion, I think in the unification of our people, we need to have an organization that has no religious or no political affiliation. One thing I love about Minister Louis Farrakhan is that I always see him on the platforms, on the pulpits of the different belief groups, different from his. So I could say that he tries his best to always keep an open mind. And he loves his people very dearly. He's a very powerful and influential figure. And if he could lend his hand to something like the formation of an organization where it's because there shouldn't be any dividing factors when it comes to an organization towards the unification of the black people. So the reason why I would be hesitant to say that the Nation of Islam is that organization is because we know that the Nation of Islam it is very much in the name there, that it is even though Islam it's interpreted as a way of life. We know the Nation of Islam is a bit different from traditional Islam and all of that. But still, in my small, humble opinion, I just think that we need to remove personal and not personal. We need to remove religious and political affiliations from such an organization and simply focus. The only thing that this organization should be about is it may sound bad to say, but it should simply be about the color of your skin and the texture of your hair, the genetic makeup of your being. This is what it should be about, in my humble opinion.
Okay. So, ex-nay on contributing to the Trinidadian vote, but I I would say I completely agree to an extent, simply on the basis of voting. So with religion, I agree with you. Like maybe we should keep that out. But for example, I believe in your live, Mr. Waite was mentioning that with Trinidad, the administration between the goods and services and the money flowing through the economy there isn't right, and that he needed the help of the young in order to help leverage his campaign essentially so he can get in and make change. While I understand this is a local thing, this is also a global issue because Trinidad is not the only predominantly black nation who is not in control of its import and exportation. For
Yeah,
example, in Senegal, President Macky Sall just allowed the Chinese to come in and fish, right? Commercial fishing. This country already had issues with the lack of food. So now they're having issues with the lack of fish because the waters are being overfished.
yeah,
While this may be a local issue, this still in a way affects me and it affects other people because what about Black Americans that are trying to repatriate back to Senegal? How do we help with this? Right? How and then not only how do we help, but we may be affected by this, right? Because obviously, if you have a lack of food, when you do get food, you're going to feed your own people first, and then you're going to worry about everybody else after. So I know it's kind of a minuscule example, but it's an example
So with you.
nonetheless. So
And you see, this is exactly why I say we need to take politics out of the organization as well. Because the power isn't with the politicians, the power is with the people. And if the people are with the organization, then the organization can then dictate the politicians. Now, you see, what we have had happening is that we've had politicians making promises and not fulfilling the promises. We've had politicians doing what politicians do best, which is fooling the people, not taking care of the people, neglecting the people. So, as what I would suggest is that instead of trying to rally the people around black political leaders, because Anton, let's be honest, a lot of times, a lot of times, we are our biggest pull down. We black people, we keep ourselves down a lot of time. A lot of times we are the ones who take the opportunity to be corrupt. And there's a good reason behind all of that. We could go into explain all of that, the systematic mind frame that has been implanted into us over the past 400 or so years, and we could go into all of that. But this is our condition today, and sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes there are some genuine people that come along that may not look like you, that just might have your best interest in mind. There are genuine people that would come along in life. Um, it is portrayed that JFK was one of them. That he wanted to speak the truth, and that is why he was assassinated. So we just use President John F. Kennedy as an example. That sometimes people do come along who might be for you, genuinely for you, and sometimes those people they may not look like you. So you might be faced with a situation where you have someone that looks like you, but they might not be the best option for you. Whereas you have another political option where they might not look like you, but they just might be the best option for you, the ones who would actually do something to change your situation and the situation of your people. So sometimes you have to realize that as the people, we have the power, and we would use the power, or we would exercise the power or give the power to the persons or the political entities that would exercise that power towards our interests. So we don't need to get into the politics. We just need the politicians to know that, okay, as an organization, our members make up for 80% of the voting populace. And therefore, as an organization, this is our request from the government. And if you do not fulfill our request, then we will show our power where the people they will not go out and vote for you. We will give our votes to those who will represent us. And when the government knows that the people have an organization that has their back, then the government will tend to keep their word. And this is why I say I want to stay away from politics and build an organization instead of a political or religious entity.
okay. Uh, Real quick to address Kimber Joseph, his comment here. He said while listening to us, the scene from the Django popped up in his head. Um, they said they examined the brains of black folks. After that, the part of the brain that promoted submission was larger than the whites, saying that we crave and expected submission. I mean,
Yes,
that's
I think
just
some of the comments got cut there, Kimber. So if you could send us the rest of the comments, good afternoon to you there, Kimber. Good day. In Trinidad and Tobago, I don't even know what time is it. It's probably like 4 in the afternoon in Trinidad and Tobago now. Good evening to you. Um, Yeah. So just looking into Kimber's comment here while listening to you guys, so he can think about that Django movie, and obviously we know what that movie represents. It represents a freedom that we never had before. And I think this is what we need as a people. We need a freedom that we've never had before. We need to express our freedom in a way that we have never done before.
I would just like to tackle that comment, if you don't mind.
Yeah, the lower portion of the comment. But I was just waiting to see if he would have, if Kimber is going to give us the rest of it. But yeah, you go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, yeah. While he's maybe typing there, I can't see, but if he is, while he's doing that, um, first of all, that's a load of. I mean, it's just a movie for one thing, and then it is a load of bull. Basically, I think that at the time, Europeans saw how much Africans had served each other, that it's a part. Yes, I know the scene. That it's a part of our culture to serve our people, but not serve them as they are superior to us, which is what it was supposed to have been, but serving them as a way to do good in our community. And I just think that the Europeans took advantage of that. I know it's just a movie, but it also does stem from the real life situation. So I don't know if you had any comments on that, but that's just my thought on it.
Yeah. Now with the part that we bring it promotes submission. Um, the part of our brain that promotes submission. Um, Now, I think like Anton, like I'm with you with what you said there because like the way how I see it is that like we are the originators of love. Like we love and we serve. We respect, we take care of our people, of our planet, of our environment, of everything that we have been entrusted with. So when it was easy for us to serve because we have a nature of servitude, not because we are servants, but because we are kings. You know, like in the words of Jesus from the Bible, that the greatest will have to be like the least. If you want to be the leader, then you must be like the servant. And we've always been leaders in that way, that nothing has never been too small for us to do. So when the ones who did not look like us, when they saw that, then they use that as an opportunity. But it's not that we submitted. But for example, what they would do is that they would take the strongest buck or the strongest black male on a plantation, and they would tie him his two hands and his 2 feet. They would spread him out, and these white males they would take their turns, and they would rape him. They would do all sorts of things. Then they would pour honey on him and let the ants come and eat him. They would tie him to 4 horses and let the horses rip him apart. And that will serve. They would take the pregnant women and they would cut the baby out of the pregnant women's belly and they would bash it against the rocks. And those things were used to serve as an example that if you do not submit, then this is what is going to happen to you. And because of our love for our children, for our parents, for our siblings, for our black brothers and sisters in the plantations with us, we submitted and we submitted and we submitted until we have come to a time now in 2020 where we have said that we will submit no more. So it's not that the part of our brain that promotes submission is larger than that of whites, is that the part of our brain and our heart that promotes love for one another and for the planet, it is bigger than that of any other because we are the originators of the planet. We are the originators of humanity and everything that you see here today. So, of course, we love it, of course, we serve it, but I wouldn't say that it is some sort of a servitude mentality in a negative way.
Yeah, I mean, no further comments on that. I'm pretty sure you said it all. I
Yeah,
think that for the most part, that it's who we are, but it's because of our culture, not so much something in our brain. So I would agree. With that being said, Romelo, did you have any further topics that you'd like to discuss before we wrap this up?
me, no, 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 no. It was just really nice to take a little break from the politics. It was a good little break. You guys know I'm on the election. I'm on the election, the Trinidad and Tobago election campaign. I was talking to my friends. You guys know the Pandays are my dear friends. I was talking to Michaela. I had a chat with Omar Pandey. I was talking to Basdeo Pandey as well. And we're going to be having a couple of the Pandays on the show coming up. My sincere apologies. I explained to you guys what happened with my phone the last time, why we couldn't have Basdeo Pandey. I'm also going to have Paul Saran on the show to discuss his. He's going to be giving us an exclusive interview as to his difficulties in the PNN and his attempts to to be some sort of a representative on behalf of the PNM and not being able to do so. So I'm really looking forward to that. But other than that, Anton, it's always great to chat with you. Anton, like my wife could confess, could testify that I always tell her about you. I always say like, Anton, he's like my brother. That I haven't even met him in person as yet, but I've linked up with Anton and we have this genuine connection and we just want to try and grow this show together. So I've not really been doing the nightly show because we've been discussing we want to turn this nightly show into Rom and Ton. So yeah, guys, we're working on that, and that is why you guys not really seeing the nightly shows coming up. But we are completely two different parts of the world, different time zones. We need to straighten everything out with regards to the time so that we could keep the consistency for you guys. Um, I also like to tell you guys who are watching on Facebook, if you have not done so already, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type in the Ravello channel, you would see it. Go on my Facebook page, you will find the link. Go in the comments in this video, you will find the link. Give me that support the YouTube channel. I like to say I've hit over 300 subscribers to the YouTube channel. I know I just started not too long ago, but I've hit over 300 subscribers. I think I'm up to 313 subscribers now. So to everyone who has subscribed to the YouTube channel, thank you guys very much. Thank you for that support. I'm trying to get to 500 before I bring on a couple of guests that we have reserved. You guys know we had quite a few bit of some really big names out here. I think the biggest name we had on the show so far was Tanya out in Hollywood there, but we've also had Nikolai Edwards, who's the political leader of the Progressive Party. We have Kurt Waite, the leader of Now Political Party. We had my dear friend Fuad Abu Bakr, the political leader of the new national vision. We had my dear friend Brooke Potter, a professional trader in London, telling us about his story. So the name of the channel the Ravello channel. It is the Ravello channel. Let me see if I could highlight. Yeah, so you just go to YouTube and you just click, just search the Rovello channel, just pop my name in, just put Romel Rovello. It's gonna pop right up. You're gonna see the Rovello channel. You're gonna see the picture of myself and my son. A lot of people have been asking me to give them a tour of the car. A lot of you guys want to see the BMW. I'm gonna give you guys a tour of the car. I'm gonna give you guys, yeah, as soon as the weather is nice, we're gonna take the car out to the park and we're gonna give you guys a tour of the car. Also, what else is coming up? What else is coming up? Before I go, there's something else coming up. Something else coming up. can't remember, or maybe I'm not supposed to say. I think maybe I'm not supposed to say until it actually does come up. So yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a review of the car. Um, gonna be showing your channel. So if you guys have your channel, drop your link for your channel. Let me know what your channel is. Want to thank Anton very much for his time this afternoon. Anton, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, my brother.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure. And till next time, when we have another chance to do this again, because I got some more things on this book here that I'd like to address. So we'll definitely chop it up.
All right, bro. So, guys, that was Anton. This has been Rom Ton live. Before we go, let me just run the intro. Using the intro as an outro, guys. But we're just gonna run the outro and we're gone, guys. So have a good evening. See you guys on the next interview, on the next live, or on the next upload. Be sure before you go to click a like on this video. Be sure. Let's just get Woodman's channel. I would like to add this to Brother Romero Ravello. Love, we as Black people, the originators of the planet Earth, and there's no need for any apologies for the truth, as there are no negatives from speaking the truth. Woodman, sorry, Anton, gone there. I'm sorry I didn't see this comment before Anton left. But Woodman, one day I want to really sit down and I want to really get into a discussion about um, the origin of the planet, the origin of humanity. But I know it's not a topic for everyone, and I try to keep open. But I'll tell you guys something. Like God has made some great interventions in my life. One of the greatest interventions God made in my life, it was back in February of 2013, where I was about to be banned from traveling, and God intervened, and He did some incredible things in my life on that day. I went to Chicago that afternoon, and God, He said to me, He said, I want you to write about your life so that I could show you through your own life how I have always been with you. So I wrote about my life, and you guys know I have my book out there on Amazon. It's called Beyond Face Value. I wrote to the best of my ability at that time, and I became a motivational speaker, and I started encouraging people not to give up despite their circumstances and their situations in life. I did this in schools throughout the United States. I did this in community groups. I did this in youth groups, office seminars and events. But for the most part, I did this throughout the churches throughout the Caribbean, the Europe, and America. In 2017, in August 2017, I had another conversation with God. This time He came and He walked with me in my dream. And we had a really, really personal conversation. And from shortly after that, I stopped speaking in churches. I tried to continue speaking in churches, but I just couldn't. I couldn't do it anymore. It's not something that I do anymore. I was on a 10,000 congregation mission. I have turned that into my company, Amalfi Corporate Solutions UK Limited, and I continue doing motivational speaking, sharing my life story in a corporate aspect. But one day I would really like to open up about that conversation that I had with God back in 2017 in August, because it's exposed me to a lot of things, and especially with regards to your comment there about us being the originators of this planet. Um, a lot of people would know that we have been on this planet for a very, 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 very long time. And based on that dream, the studies that I started to do, I found some teachings that aligned with the dream. And one of the teachings there was that 70 billion years ago, there was a scientist that wanted to make all of the people of this planet speak the same language, and he failed miserably in his attempts to do that. And he went on and he planted some highly explosive, some very high explosives, and had a very big explosion. And that is how we have the creation of the moon. Now, I know to a lot of you guys that is going to sound weird, but if you have heard the story of the creation of the moon, then you might have some idea as to where I am going with this. And one day I would like to sit down and talk about that. I would like to sit down and talk about the story of Jacob, the story of Hiram Abiff, and some other stories that I have found very interesting since I had that dream. So yeah, it's really important, or it's really nice that you mentioned that comment, because it just reasserted to me that I need to sit down and I need to have that conversation with the world, because at the end of the day, like Jesus Christ said, no man lights a candle and puts it underneath the bed. He sets it on a candlestick so that it will provide room, it will provide light for everyone that comes into that room. So one day I'm gonna make that video. I'm gonna sit down here and I'm gonna hopefully some of you guys can join me on the live, because when it's just me talking about my life stories, it's a bit emotional for me. But when I'm sitting down with some of you guys and I'm telling you guys my story, it's a bit easier for me to tell it to you. I know that there are quite a few of you guys out there that has subscribed to my channel because you've heard me telling my story to Wode Maya. In those kind of settings, I can do that. So maybe, hopefully, on that day, you guys would join me. You would call in. We'll have you guys on in the studio, and we could have that discussion about some of the studies that I've been doing over the past 3 years that has changed my life, my way of thinking dramatically, has really proven and shown me that indeed that God has been with me and will continue to be with me. So guys, look out for that as well. I'm not going to promise, I'm not going to tell you guys when that is coming up, but sometime in the future, if you guys would like to hear, if you guys would like me to release that or to do that story, go ahead and let me know. And if the more encouragement I get, the more confident I feel, and the more able I will be to come out and share that story with you guys. So until the next time, guys, my name is Romero Fellow. This has been Rom Ton Live. Thank you guys very much for joining us. We'll see you guys the next time.